Time is 7 o'clock, and we'll call the March 27th regular Board of Education meeting to order. Ms. Greer, would you please call the roll?
Clark.
Here.
Corcoran. Here. Davis.
Here.
Elvin.
Here.
Hoda.
Here.
Madison.
Here.
And Smith.
Here. All right. Recitation of the district mission and vision. Okay, I'll do it.
No, I know.
Okay, all right.
You just gotta go in there and be like, there's something on my face.
No.
No, I'll read it.
Okay, Trustee Clark.
Okay. The mission, to create an inclusive learning community that provides the best academic and social experience by educating the whole child, one child at a time. The vision is cultivating visionary leaders and compassionate citizens engaged in the global community.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. We all received the agenda prior to today's meeting. Are there any issues relative to the agenda? If not, without objection, we will pass a motion to approve the agenda by unanimous consent. Is there an objection to doing so? Hearing none, the agenda is hereby approved. We'll go to approval of consent agenda. We have two items on the consent agenda, which are approval of minutes and approval of personnel actions. Personnel actions. Any issues relative to the consent agenda? Hearing none, without objection, we'll pass a motion to approve the consent agenda by unanimous consent. Is there an objection to doing so? Okay, the consent agenda is hereby approved. And we'll go to reports, and we have one report this evening. Our superintendent, Mr. Abdullah.
Thank you, President Elvin. Just want to report out that this week has been an amazing week. We started out with our youth symposium. We had board president was on the panel. We had two trustees. They're representing the Board of Education. We had Sigma. I keep messing it up.
Sigma Gamma Rho.
Sigma Rho representing our my old Key School Elementary alumni was there too. Tisha Lott, who is a singer-songwriter, she was there. President Alvin was there, and then we had a journalist also there answer questions. And it was amazing to see the students so engaged. I mean, they had activities for them. I happened to run into Trustee Clark and Smith because we were all in different places. And I just said, isn't this an amazing, difference? They were just walking around, kids were interacting, they were just there engaging as normal students, and it was an amazing feeling. Then we had several trustees reading to elementary students. I think Trustee Madison was at Key, and Trustee Clark was at Lessinger, and I believe, who was at Einstein? Okay, sorry, apologize. We had our Supreme Court Justice, who's also, correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be our guest speaker at graduation, was also there at Einstein. And it was just an amazing thing just to watch what we're exposing our little ones to. And then we kicked it off with senior pinning. Over 600 students and family was there. The marching band, the majorettes, the staff were engaged. It was just a great feeling. Trustee Vice President Smith was there. We were trying to get him to go down to his son, but he refused to leave the stage. Trustee Corcoran was there, surprising one of friend of the family, and it was just you couldn't script a better week. And it was just a great feeling just to be a spectator and get to see all of that. And now we're gonna, be punished by going to Orlando and enjoying 78-degree weather, and so just want to say kudos to everyone involved.
Yes.
Everyone that was involved. We sent administrators over to capturing kids' hearts about social emotional learning, and feedback was they stole the show. Oak Park staff stole the show. So, but they assured me that they were well behaved, but they were so engaged, and they were so eager to bring that back. So apart from that, I don't think I could report anything else. It was just a great feeling. Trustee Hoyda was also in D.C., and we were texting back and forth about legislation that was being pushed through, and I was trying to get feedback. I did reach out to our official, but she just sent me a text saying, "Can I call you back?" and never called me back. So if she could hear me, I'm still waiting for that phone call back, but she's not. I believe that is all I have for my report, President Allen.
Thank you. Okay, we get ready to go to public participation then, and Trustee Davis, if you would please read the public comment guidelines.
Because the Oak Park Board of Education values public meetings, not just meetings in public, we welcome public comment on school issues. Speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due process for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by public comments. The public comment portion of the meeting cannot be used to make personal attacks against a school board member or a school district employee that disrupts the order of the meeting and is totally unrelated to a manner in which the member or employee performs his or her duties. Speakers should be aware that if statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, such comments may result in legal liability. Most comments can be concisely stated in 3 minutes, and the board respectfully asks that comments remain focused on the topic or issue and not be directed at specific personnel or board members.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board? Going once. Going twice. 3 times? All right. Well, there are none. Hearing none, we will go to item 7A. We have 2 action items. We'll go to item 7A. Recommended first day of school for OPSD students, August 28, 2023. And Trustee Smith, would you please read?
Yes. The administration is requesting approval from the Board of Education to adopt Monday, August 28th, 2023 as the first day of school for Oak Park School District students for the 2023-2024 school year.
Okay, we would probably need that in the form of a motion, so I would just say,
Mr. President, can I
Yes.
offer a motion?
please.
I move that the Oak Park Board of Education adopt Monday, October 28, 2023 as the first day of school for Oak Park School District students for the 2023-2024 school year as recommended by the administration.
Motion made by Hoyda, seconded by Smith. Are there any questions on this motion? Trustee Clark.
I just had a quick, is there a reason why we're recommending August 28th rather than after Labor Day?
Yeah, so the further you start, the further you go into the summer. And it occurred to us last year where we started later. Most other districts were in session, and we lost a lot of employees because school hadn't started yet. That's one. Also, going deep into the summer does not allow a lot of planning for families and for summer school. Like, we're running into that right now where we have 1 week off, and then we enter summer school, and then another week, and then we're right back at it. And so it does not give families any kind of vacation time in between.
Anything else? Okay, Ms. Greer, would you please call the roll?
Madison,
Yes.
Hoda,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
and Elvin.
Yes. All right, motion passes, and we'll go to item 7B, approval to purchase firewall software for the 2023-24 school year. Trustee Davis, you want to take it?
Resolved that the Oak Park School District Board of Education purchase the 2023-24 firewall software license from Delta Network Services of Bloomfield Township, Michigan, in the amount of $18,037. This purchase will be paid for through federal E-rate funding and the general fund.
Motion made by Davis, there's a second. Seconded by Smith. Trustee Hoyt.
So I noticed in the information we were provided that it talks about the firewall protecting from, it provides filters for potentially dangerous content directed towards children. Does it also provide protection from phishing and other threats towards our network that we know that there are bad people out there that are trying to get access to school districts to hold them hostage? And
So-
can steal data, steal student data, things like that.
I would say we currently have a firewall, and we're still getting,
So this
getting
is in
those.
addition to that.
Yeah, so if you recall, people were getting text messages from me asking for gift cards. And then we got emails from President Alvin asking for things. So for as fast as we're reacting, other people are hacking. So this is just an extension. It's not a fix-all, but we are also getting Oakland School Supports with phishing training on. Nothing beats advising staff, don't click on it if you don't know. It's that click where it says click here that we're trying to educate our staff on. That's the hardest part.
So this firewall is specific for this issue of inappropriate content for students, and it's separate from other firewalls we have that protect the network from other threats. Am I understanding that right?
That's deeper than I think I know, but Jim is here.
Okay, so thinking of it like an onion, there's multiple firewalls, there's multiple layers. This particular firewall is our main content filter. This handles internet traffic, are they going to sites that are inappropriate, that might be dangerous, that might be unsafe. In addition to this, we use a couple other programs, products that handle more of the spam side of the house for email, and the kids accessing stuff at home. There's another product that does this. This is the core firewall that all the internet goes through that we're renewing. Same one we've been using for a few years. It's just after a few years you have to pay a yearly renewal fee. That's what we're asking for right now.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Trustee Corcoran.
That renewal, how often? Jim, you might want to come back, thank you. Because I did read it where it says it's 1 year renewal.
So
So is it going to be 1 year or?
Yeah, it's a yearly renewal. When we purchased the firewall a couple years ago, we had a multi-year contract on it. The way E-rate works is you can use the funding for a group of years, and we're going to be looking at in the future needing to upgrade the network and probably needing to upgrade the firewall again. So we wanted to just continue it for 1 more year, and then in the future we'll probably be coming back to use that E-rate funds for something larger.
Okay, because I had the cyber class that they had at MASB, which was very informational, and I know Oakland schools have a lot to do with the company that we use. Like, I noticed that this is a bid for Delta.
So this is just the lowest bidder for that. So we use the brand of firewall we use for E-rate purposes. We have to go out for bid to do a renewal. Delta is just selling the renewal. They're the lowest bidder, the lowest cost. They're just a sales company. They aren't really doing anything with us other than providing the sale for it. We could use pretty much any vendor. They're just the one who bid, and they were the cheapest one.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm sorry, I did have one more thing, but It said that we were gonna use, some grant money and, some,
General
general
fund.
funds. Do we know how much of the general fund money?
How much of the, I think E-rate was less than 8,000?
Yeah, E-rate was pretty low, it's like $4,000, give or take, that E-rate's covering. In the future, if we were to purchase a firewall, a newer firewall, the software is usually bundled with it, and you usually have more coverage. When you get down to just paying for the software only, E-rate has a lot of restrictions. So we're doing 1 year to get us by, and then you'll probably see me in again in about a year to talk about this.
Thank you.
Ms. Greer, please call the roll.
Clark,
Yes.
Colburn,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Elwin,
Yes.
Hoda,
Yes.
Madison,
Yes.
and Smith.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. We'll go to information items. And the information items are committee appointments. So we have two committees. We have the policy committee that will be tasked with the review and recommendations of policy changes to the board. And then the board development committee, which is the brainchild of our very own trustee Hoyda. As probably came about as we were kicking around what we would do, but its focus would be on one. It would be on helping to refine what that looks like in terms of development of the board and on at least internally, making sure that we have a robust opportunity for board members to understand what's going on here, as well as possibly, and this might be something that committee might want to recommend that we do, but possibly be one that looks at the opportunities for board development in terms of any conferences or anything of that nature, and recommend that the board accept or reject anyone's request or something like that. So, did I adequately capture the scope?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, all right. I don't know it was your thing, but it was a good one. And I was looking for where I wrote it and couldn't find it. So it was kind of me going off memory, and Lord knows that could be dangerous when it comes talking about my memory. So we have for policy committee for now, there'll be two board members doing that. The chair will be Menachem Hoyda, and I will also serve on that committee. For the board development committee, we will have trustee Davis serve as the chair, and trustees Corcoran and Smith will also be on that committee as well. And so at this point, I would assume then the chair could work with those committees and try to figure out how to get us started. Now, trustees Madison and Clark will not yet join the committee because they want to kind of ease into it. So we'll give them an opportunity, and if they so desire to join a committee, we still have a policy committee with an open seat. And if need be, one of them might have to push me off, but that's okay as long as we have everyone feeling like they're where they want to be. All right, and this is based on you all made it easy because you tell me where you want to be, and then we had that opportunity to put you there. So, questions, comments, or concerns? None. Okay. So that's what we will do. I would ask that if there is a committee meeting, that you at least copy Ms. Greer, if nothing else. Let her know that you're meeting, because for one reason, not that she needs to be there, I'm not saying it that way, but there is pay for committee meetings, so she would at least need to know when you're meeting for those purposes. If there's a request to get Superintendent Abdullah to me, I don't think he needs to come to all of them, but if there's a request for him to be there, I think we should send that to him and ask him his availability. If there's a request, I don't think he needs to be a mainstay at them unless someone sees a reason why he does. Let me know. Okay. So, all right.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question?
When you Any questions that you like?
The committee meetings have to be here.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they do not. In fact, I do have one question. Do we have to post those? I don't think we did, but
So this is, so MASB, MASB position is that committee meetings have to be treated like an open meeting under the Open Meetings Act, so need to be posted, need to be in a public place, need to have public comment. However, our attorneys do not agree with that.
correct. So, no, they don't have to be. I mean, if our attorneys have stated that we're on good ground by not doing it that way, then no need to do it that way. Trustee
So we can utilize virtual
Be doing somebody.
forums for this, right?
I see no reason why you can't.
Okay.
So, I lost, I didn't follow. So anything more than 3, whether MASB or not, you have to post.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
there's
so
no-
I lost who's assigned to what.
there are no committees that are more than 3.
Oh, okay, cause I heard 5 and I'm like, so I just missed,
I did that on purpose.
yeah.
So if we need to make, that's why I said if both trustees Clark and Madison say, oh, you know what, I'd like to be on the policy committee. And I say, okay, that's fine, that boots me off. So the 2 of them can join and that would be 3. But right now we have 2 on one committee and 3 on the other.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, no, I certainly didn't want to do that.
The other issue we would run into if you have 4 people on a committee is then it would, they would have a quorum.
Correct.
So not only would it be an open meeting, but then they can make decisions.
Yes, no, well, that's why I'm not saying any committees.
And I think our bylaws specifically say that committees have to be 3 of us.
Yeah, okay, so that's where we are. And, I would just, state in some way that, committees should be responsible for reporting back the work that they're doing. Not just meeting, but reporting back, even if it's nothing. Hey, we met, we just started trying to get to know each other. Okay, fair enough. But I think there should be at least a verbal update, in between, whenever we have our meetings, just to say, here's where we are, here's what we're doing.
Okay.
So we'll have these as long as there are meetings, we'll have these as standing items for report out by the chairs. Okay?
Or development committee.
Trustee Corcoran.
I just had a vision of the bylaws, that the meetings, or am I getting this mixed up about the special meeting? But or any meetings should be held on the following Monday? Or this is just committee meetings? I mean, I don't think it specifies of what meetings.
I don't recall seeing a requirement for a committee to meet on any given day.
Maybe it's just special meetings. That's what I'm thinking.
I believe I don't even think it's still in our,
Yeah, it's still
we-
there. I read it the
I
other
think
day.
we have, on our calendar, we have language that says the board designates the other Mondays as being a date for possible special meetings. But that, in other words, that we,
So a committee is not, a committee meeting is not considered.
You can meet on
Extra.
Friday night at 8 o'clock if you like to.
I'll be working.
Saturday at noon, whatever you choose to do. But no, I don't think we don't.
yeah, I don't think that language was meant to restrict anything. It was just a matter of, if we're gonna call special meetings, we try to do it.
So from us, you don't
That
need
way,
us
that way we
agenda?
keep our schedules open, that's the idea of it.
I would say
You don't
as
need nothing
needed.
from it.
I'm not. So I'm cognizant of the fact that because I think you mentioned it, like you don't necessarily want to be.
Yeah, but
so
what I was asking is, you don't need us to set out an agenda, to post anything,
No.
nothing, so just you guys are,
we should
okay.
be responsible.
Just a heads up, I'm seeing on our website, our policies are not, I'm clicking on the link for our policies and it says there's something wrong with it, so I don't know if that's something we need to check on.
That must have just happened, because
All right. So but in the event that there will be, there's a need for something, I'm sure the chair can reach out to you and say, hey, can you be here on this one, or can you do this or whatever.
Sure.
But on a regular basis, no, nothing.
okay.
Okay? All right. We go to item 9, Board Administration Communications, Trustee Hoyter with the K-12 Alliance of Michigan DC Symposium. Final agenda and talking points. Let's go.
All right, so I shared with the board the agenda and the talking points from our meeting in Washington DC last Wednesday. I attended on behalf of the board the K-12 Alliance Symposium on Special Education. And as you can see, in terms of the talking points, it's really rather simple, which is when the Individualized with Disabilities in Education Act was passed almost 50 years ago, Congress set a target. They said that they will provide funding for 40% of the additional cost of special education. That number has never been met in the 50 years that it's been active. The most that's ever been provided is 18%. We're now, this year, down to 12%, and the president's budget proposes a huge increase to 13%. So this is the second year that we have gone to Washington to advocate for a bill that would provide full funding of IDEA, the 40% that was promised and has not been met in 50 years. It was really wonderful being in Washington, D.C. with a lot of superintendents from our area. It was nice to see our former superintendent, Dr. Colbert, was there on behalf of Wayne Risa. Our Oakland School Superintendent, Dr. Cook Robinson, was there on behalf of Oakland Schools, and Mark Katz from Oakland Schools Board was there on behalf of Oakland Schools, along with a lot of other superintendents, special ed directors, and a couple of us board members. And we met, as you can see on the agenda, with the Congress people from our area. The only people on that agenda that weren't able to make it were the 2 representatives from the Senate offices. Apparently COVID is going around the Senate offices in Washington, D.C., and both of them were out with COVID. So we did not meet with them. But other than that, we met with Congresswoman Tlaib and Stevens, who represent our area, as well as Congressman Tanadar, Congresswoman Slotkin, who's running for Senate, and Congresswoman McClain, who's in the Republican leadership. And we also met with the Detroit News Reporter in Washington, D.C., and the lobbyist for the Superintendent's Association. So we learned a lot of information and provided, and really, I think it was very successful in terms of the feedback we got from the representatives in the room was when they understood the issue that simply, that Congress has mandated these services, has promised funding, and has never provided that funding. It was interesting to hear both from Representative McClain, who's in the Republican leadership, so comes from the Trump wing of the Republican Party, and Congresswoman Tlaib, who comes from the left wing of the Democratic Party. Both of them said almost the exact same thing, which is there's no reason this shouldn't be funded. We fund all kinds of other stuff. This needs to be a priority. So it was really nice to hear that that message coming from our Congress people, and hearing from them that this was something they needed to understand better. And once they did, really speaking about advocacy. From what I understand, some of those who were there, I went on Wednesday, some people were there on Tuesday. They had opportunity to meet with Congressman John James, who also represents the area but was not able to join us for the symposium. And apparently he said he would like to be one of the lead sponsors of this bill. So really from across the board, there was support, and we're building momentum. Congresswoman Stevens said she would like to convene a meeting in the district when she gets back to talk through strategy. So it was a very fruitful meeting, a very encouraging meeting. I don't think anyone necessarily expects that we're going to go to full 40% this year. We expect it in terms of that's what should happen, but in terms of the way these things work, it's about building momentum and continuing to push the issue and make it a priority, because they hear about a lot of things that are important. So I think that was, and we even received an email right before this meeting from Robert McCann, who leads the K-12 Alliance, saying he's received very positive feedback from our representatives in Washington, D.C. as well. So it was, I think, a very encouraging experience, very helpful experience. We had some interesting discussions around the third grade reading law as well, which was a surprise, but that's for off the record. But the reason why I bring that up is I think what was really, what I noticed was that what we heard from our congressional representatives is they hear a lot. They have a lot of things they have to think about. And so they said us coming and actually bringing this issue forward and making a priority and explaining it to them, and I forgot to mention Representative Engel, who was also there and was very important, pushing the issue forward was critical to getting this done. Telling the story, making it that simple. They promised 40%. We still have to adopt the cost. That money means that there's other things that aren't getting funded. That was very important from, again, all the way from Lisa McLean to Rashida Tlaib. So that's my report from the symposium, and I'm happy to share any other information if people have questions. Yes.
I just have a question. Is this been since 75, you said? Since how long?
50 years.
75, so that's one of the things that was discussed that Congresswoman Stevens proposed and seemed to have a lot of support in the room, is holding events around the 50-year mark to say, how can Congress not keep its promise for 50 years, making that a solid point.
Because that was my question. This can't be the first time that they've heard this, right? I mean, I know we have new people and things like that.
We have new people. So this is the second year the K-12 Alliance has gone in this way. One of the things we heard from the person who, from the national lobbyist for the superintendents, is that she wishes she was seeing such active advocacy from other states. And we talked about why one of the things Superintendent from Royal Oak, Mary Beth Fitzpatrick said is proposed, and it could be that as educators we make do with what we have. And so to a certain extent there may be a mindset of, okay, we figure it out, it's not like we're going to not provide the services or hurt children just because Congress isn't keeping its promise, and that almost creates a lack of incentive to actually get it done. So that's one of the things that was talked about, is how can we engage as well with other states to have this, to have similar things happening. And again, this was year 2 that we've been doing this. From K-12 Alliance is just Southeast Michigan, so it's not even Michigan as a whole, it's just Southeast Michigan. But you see how powerful that was, and one of the things that I mentioned to Congresswoman McLean, because Congresswoman McLean came in the room, said to us, I really don't understand this issue, please explain it to me, to her credit. And we did, and she said, well, this sounds like something I should be for. What's the devil's advocacy? Why, when I go back, because she's in Republican leadership, like she actually has the position to make this a priority in Congress. She said, what's going to be the pushback? I need to be prepared for that. And we said, we can't imagine what that would be. But one of the things that that I shared with Congresswoman McLean is I think this is an area that's ripe for Michigan to be at the leadership of this as a bipartisan issue. Because one of the things that informs this is that under Governor Snyder, Republican governor, there was a report that was developed by the Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley, which really spoke about special education in Michigan and what we need to do to adequately meet the needs of special education students. And a big piece of that was adequately funding through IDEA, adequately funding special education. And so I think again, that was one of the things I think that because this is superintendents, board members, superintendents are great at talking about how this impacts in the classroom. Not all of them have the political skills to understand how a message can be tailored for Representative Tlaib, Representative McLean, Representative Dingell, for the different people. And that's, I think, where us as board members bring that perspective to say, here's what it means in our community when these things are done. So sharing that with Representative McLean, she seemed to be receptive to that message that Michigan can be a leader on this. And that's, I think, to answer your question, the reason why it hasn't gotten done is because it hasn't been anyone's pet issue. And if we can make this Michigan's issue, that Michigan can, on a bipartisan basis, can champion, I think there's a real chance that it can get done.
It looks like the last 20 years, the most funding gets received is 18%. And
Yeah.
it's steadily kind of gone down from there, so.
Yeah, I can tell you that the first time I went to DC as a board member, which was, I think 2010, even at that, I still remember Mark Katz, who was then a board member at Berkeley. This was a particularly important issue to him, and he would walk into every congressperson's office with an invoice and say, here's what you owe us for 50 years of underfunded special education. And that has, and what we did at this symposium is every single district that was there prepared an invoice just like that, and we handed every congressperson, here are all the invoices from your district of the money you owe us, because you promised us this would come, and you haven't met that requirement. And this is money that our kids are not getting to fund their education.
Do we have an invoice?
We did.
How much was it?
Um,
I don't put you on the spot. You can't have me like.
Yes, and thank you to Ms. Greer and Superintendent Abdul-Ahad. We had to put that together pretty quickly, but they provide the information and we were able to get it. It was
Ballpark.
between $1 and $2 million
There you go.
for this year.
That's a lot. Okay, all right. Any other thoughts or questions for that? No? All right, board and administration communication, any communication from the administration? Any from the board?
$1,322,112.58.
Very specific. Is that, and you said that was from just this year?
That's based on 380 special education students in the district. Yeah, that's just this year.
Oh, extrapolate that. And
Extrapolate that, and I would argue that part of it, this was something that Dr. Hitchcock pointed out last year at the same meeting. Oak Park, when we have a very low number of special ed students in our district compared to others. And if that's because we're not doing a good enough job identifying them, then that number is going to be significantly higher once we actually identify them and provide those IEPs.
Got it. Trustee Smith, well, first of all, thank you for the report, and it was, that's good information, so I appreciate that.
Thanks a lot.
The other members of the board appreciate it as well.
Trustee.
Trustee Smith?
Yes. I just wanted to communicate this. I told one of the principals over at Oak Park High School that I would say this and convey my thoughts and feelings at the meeting here. We had the parents teacher conferences recently, and along with that we had the seniors parents meeting, to discuss graduation items. And Ms. Bussiger was challenged by some parents, and I just want to applaud her professionalism, and I want to applaud also her empathy in regards to some of the questions from some of the parents that were there. I know that the parents are coming to a point where their children are ready to graduate, and it's getting to that, it's almost showtime. But I think I need to say to parents to, have a little bit of patience along with the staff, because they're working hard though. But I really was impressed with the way that she handled those situations in that auditorium. So I just had to communicate that to the district.
Thank you, Trustee Smith. Any other communications from members of the board? Any addenda? Okay, Trustee Davis, would you like to provide the next board meeting?
The next meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Monday, April 24th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the boardroom in the administration building.
Thank you. I mean, we get roughly a month. Okay, if nothing else, without objection, we pass a motion to adjourn the meeting by unanimous consent. Is there an objection to doing so? Hearing none, we're hereby adjourned at 7:40. Thank you.